It's July 15th, 2026. Welcome to yes2hellwith.com. Yesterday, Jen said that the United States is a corporation, and she asked if that did not make the Constitution void. That question involves an answer that may not be expected. For decades, some Americans have been searching for answers about government, freedom, and the law. Along the way, they've encountered a stream of gurus, experts, self-proclaimed authorities, each promising to possess the one secret that everyone else has missed. You probably heard many of the theories: Admiralty jurisdiction, maritime law, UCC, acceptance for value, offset discharge, the strawman, the all-capital letters name, the United States as a corporation, and then dozens more. Some of these ideas are based on real historical facts. Some are built upon legal concepts that exist but are expanded far beyond how courts interpret them. Some are theories that courts have repeatedly rejected and the government doesn't even acknowledge. The problem isn't simply that these ideas exist. The problem is what often happens next. Sometimes someone takes a single observation, a true observation, and transforms it into a universal solution. That's where people get hurt, misled, misinformed, deceived. One of the greatest mistakes we make is confusing an observation with a remedy. An observation may be true. The proposed solution may still be completely wrong because of its misapplication, or the fact itself is limited in scope. That distinction has cost countless Americans years of their lives. I've seen the pain caused by these theories, the loss of time, money, and hope. I've lived enough of that journey myself to understand how attractive certainty can become when our freedom, our livelihoods, and our families are on the line. So let's get back to Jen's question. Suppose someone believes the United States operates as a corporation, and they apply this fact or truth, as it were, universally, completely, as if it applies anywhere and everywhere. What changes tomorrow morning in your county is my question. Does that automatically determine how your sheriff performs his duties? Does it tell your county commissioners how they should exercise their authority? Does it answer whether a public official has acted within the limits of the authority granted to that office? Whether one accepts or rejects that theory, the practical question remains exactly the same. What authority exists? What are its limits? Who must prove that those limits have been respected? Those questions matter every single day. Candidly, especially when emotions are involved, the more complicated government appears, the more valuable the person becomes who claims to possess the secret answer. Complexity creates gurus. Mystery creates followers. But free people should never have to depend upon secret knowledge. And a more informed people, I would add, do not depend upon secret knowledge. Liberty should not require decoding hidden symbols, discovering invisible trusts, or mastering theories that only a handful of people claim to understand. A constitutional republic at its best depends upon something much simpler: citizens who understand that government is limited, public officials who understand the limits of the office they hold, sheriffs, commissioners, legislators, judges, and every other public servant who recognize that power is not unlimited and that it must remain accountable to the law. Instead of chasing theories or trusting a flawed approach, isn't it better to ask disciplined questions? What authority is being claimed? Where does that authority come from? What is the source of the obligation? Has jurisdiction actually been established? Who bears the burden of proving it? Those questions don't depend upon personalities or gurus or internet movements. They depend upon careful reasoning. That's why I created the Liberty Dialogues, not to give people another theory, not to replace one guru with another, but to give all of us, ordinary people, a structured way to think to the exclusion of gurus, a way to analyze claims instead of simply accepting them, a way to distinguish evidence from assumption, a way to separate historical fact from speculation, a way to understand authority before arguing about power. So Jen, your question is an important one, but perhaps the better question is this. If your sheriff honored the Constitution and his oath, would you ever need to concern yourself with some unfounded and errant theory that has no bearing upon your life and community? If your freedom depends upon persuading a court or an official to adopt a theory that they have never accepted, have you really found a practical remedy? Or is the better path to understand the principles that define and limit government authority, insist that public officials remain within those limits, and hold them accountable when they do not? Free people cannot build a free society upon speculation. They build it upon truth and principle. They build it upon understanding the proper limits of government and expecting every public official, from sheriff to the highest office in the land, to honor those limits. When Americans stop chasing theories and start asking better questions, the conversation changes. And that's where liberty, freedom, and natural rights are restored. And as always, may truth reign supreme.